This is my name. Well, yeah, we're all in this together. But I'm supposed to introduce. Do I introduce who introduces the topic? You guys do?
Yeah,
I would.
You should think I should too? Okay. So the proposition is the NCAA should pay student athletes a salary. That's what these people will be debating. And it's going to be my job to keep track of the timer and that sort of thing. I'm also supposed to let you know that we're not going to clap in between speakers. So they have an order that is a prescribed order, and then we will not clap until the last position, which is you, right, Sophie? 3A. So that will probably be hard, but let's respect that. And then also to try to minimize the distractions of phones or things like that, so that they don't get distracted as they're speaking. And I'm going to keep track of the time, and you guys are going to ask if you need prep time or when you need prep time, and I'll keep track of that. And yeah, so then afterwards, I will provide you guys all a little bit of feedback, but not the results. I turn that in on a score sheet, and then it gets taken up. Okay. I had so much fun listening to the impromptu debate. That was super fun. So got me in the mood. And I will try not to be distracting myself, but I was tickled by what you guys were saying. It was cracking me up. So, okay. I think we're good, Danny.
Okay. When are we
Oh wait, sorry. No, yeah, you're good. I just want to get my timer.
Can I go when I start?
I will start it when I hear you talking.
All right. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you ever have unfair times in life? Hello, my name is Danny DeMarco, and I and my team, Grady and Sophie, will be arguing the affirmative for the NCAA should pay college athletes reasonable salaries. I think that all college athletes should be paid because of being compensated for playing. Wait, no. College athletes should be paid because they have a significant disadvantage because of being compensated for playing. According to a Northwestern University study, college athletes put in 43 hours more than a full-time job for sports. They do not have any time to attend a regular job. They spend a lot of time into a sport, and they don't get paid from their own job, and they don't get paid from their sport either. That means that they might even quit their sport just to get paid. According to scholarshipstats.com, 86% of college athletes receive either no financial aid or only partial scholarships. That means that only $25,000 go to students, and that only students and players every year, and that not many players attend college for that long. These kids are not making money. Some people think that we are being greedy and that the students have scholarships, but if you really think about it, they're not making that much money in general. Also, college athletes should be paid because their coaches make, on average, about $400,000 per year. According to a 2017 study by Texas Tech University, 40 states' highest paid employees were football and basketball coaches. These people were paid $400,000 to $550,000 a year. That is about $500,000 in a year. Also, for once, these coaches could pay the players themselves, and if universities have that much money to pay the coaches, why can't they pay the players too? The NCAA has enough money to pay them, but they don't. They pay every other person who works on campus, and these athletes are not making any money at all. Therefore, I think that the NCAA should pay college athletes. Thank you.
Hello. My teammate Kent and I are arguing the negative argument that college athletes should be paid. My name is Owen Willis, and I am presenting this first negative argument that college athletes should be paid a salary. My first argument is that college athletes will not be responsible with the money they get. According to Colin Coward, a sports analyst who has his own radio show with Fox Sports, says, "I don't think paying college athletes is all that great. Not every college is loaded, and most 19-year-olds are going to spend it. This means that college athletes will spend it on something stupid like a new pair of shoes, multiple dinners out, new clothes that are not needed, or even drugs. These are unnecessary, and with the money, the students will not care as much about class and they will skip. Little do they know, college classes cost is on average $594. According to USA Today, on average, college students miss about 240 classes by the time they graduate. So all in all, the students waste about $142,560 just from skipping classes. For kids who go to college and skip that many classes and waste all that money, they're just going to waste even more with them getting paid from college athletics. According to College Express, those who oppose paying college student athletes say scholarships are the best option. There is no question as to where the money from the scholarship is going towards. Cash or salary could be spent on wants rather than necessities, potentially leading to putting the athlete in debt. They would not go in debt if they had the benefit of a scholarship. This means that colleges would know where the money is going if they gave them a scholarship. Opposed to paychecks from sports, the college would not know where the money would be going. If the college cares for the reputation and well-being of the students. So if the students spend it and do something stupid with it, they will hurt themselves and the college. So if the college cares about their students' reputation and well-being, they will recognize that college students will not be responsible with money. My second argument is that college athletes go to college to get their degree in education and not to get drafted. According to Denver Post, college athletes know college athletics is preparing them for successful lives and careers because of the experiences they enjoy and education they receive. This means that student athletes know that they're not necessarily going to make it to the pros. In fact, according to the NCAA, only 2% of college athletes become pro. They are at college to get an education so that they know they are preparing themselves for business in other areas. They still commit themselves to their team, but they're even more committed and focused on their schoolwork. Therefore, college athletes should not be paid a salary. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cody Shotani, and I will be arguing in support of the proposition the NCAA should pay student athletes a salary. When you think of paying student athletes, most people imagine this means the college gives them a check. But there are other ways athletes can make money. The NCAA, at a minimum, should allow the students to profit from endorsements. According to June article from Library of Congress, the athletes cannot accept money from endorsements, autographs, or appearances. For example, Donald Dillahane had a YouTube channel that he posted on and made money from, but when he joined the NCAA, he had to stop posting on his account, which was a big loss of money. If you think about playing a sport, you probably think about having 1 hour practices a week and a game every week. The teams work really hard and get no money at all. According to a 2014 study by Northwestern University, the athletes work upwards of 43 hours a week for travel, play, and practice. This is pretty much unfair labor. Also, they are worth from $300,000 to $700,000, and the coaches get paid enough to pay the whole team plus themselves. Therefore, the NCAA should pay student athletes.
Hello, my name is Kent Ordall, and I am presenting the second negative argument in favor of the resolution that college athletes should not be paid a salary. My first argument is that most colleges do not have enough money to pay the players after giving out scholarships. According to Dave Anderson, an award-winning sports writer, an analysis was done in 2013 concerning the financial stability of public school Division I schools. This study found that only 23 of the 228 Division I schools were running their programs in the black, which would technically mean that only 23 of the 228 schools actually had the money to pay a college athlete. This means that if colleges were to pay student athletes, the college could go in debt because they did not have enough money. According to the September 1st, 2015 edition of the New Republic, in 2010, it was $156,437 for a scholarship, and some colleges even struggled to give the scholarships. Paying the players on top of that would just make things even worse. My second argument is that paying student athletes would result in gender-based discrimination. It only makes sense financially if the salary of the player correlates to how much money their games are generating. This would result in athletes belonging to football, men's basketball, and men's ice hockey making significantly more money than their female counterparts, as they are the top 3 money-making sports in college. According to Connor Morse, co-founder of Apex Sports, the median of college football teams make more than 17 times as much as the top college female sport, women's basketball. According to Steve Silverman, an award-winning sports writer, men's attendance and television ratings are significantly more higher than of women. For example, men's Ohio State University's average attendance is 5 times greater than of women's basketball. If men's basketball is more popular, then men's basketball would get paid more. If the players are getting paid depending on how much money their games are making, then the men's team will get paid a greater salary, which would be illegal under Title IX, the 1972 law that prohibits gender-based discrimination in education. Female athletes will never get a chance to earn the money that a profitable male athlete will be able to make. Therefore, college athletes should not be paid. Thank you.
Can we use our prep time, please?
How many minutes?
Okay, so now Owen, you're acting in the place of 3N right now,
Yeah,
right?
3N.
Okay, and then Sophie gets to have the
Yep.
final.
Last word.
The last word. I didn't know if you could say that, but that's exactly what I was thinking. Okay.
Okay. Hello, my name is Owen, and I will be countering a few points the other team has made, and I will be summarizing my team's arguments. They said that athletes commit 43 hours more than a full-time job, which would mean they commit 73 hours a week. But according to the NCAA, they commit only 43 hours a week, which is 3 hours more than a full-time job of 40. They also said that they're not making a lot of money. That is true, but scholarships are very expensive. And they are also saving a lot of money because of the expensive scholarship, because they do not have to pay for the scholarship. To summarize my team's previous arguments, college athletes will not be responsible with the money. They go to college to get an education and degree, and not to get drafted. Most colleges don't have enough money to pay their parents after giving out scholarships. Paying student athletes will result in gender-based discrimination. Thank you.
Yes.
Can I start whenever?
You can.
Hello, my name is Sophie, and I'm arguing for the proposition the NCAA should pay student athletes a salary. I'm now going to take a few minutes to refute what the other team said. They said students will use the money they earn for drugs, new clothes, and other unneeded stuff. But students work over a full-time job, and so do all adults. Well, most of them. However, adults can spend the money
they earn on whatever they want. But just because the students are younger, they have bad intentions on what they could spend the money they make and deserve on. They also said that the NCAA doesn't have enough money to pay for scholarships, but the work that students put in is why they are given scholarships in the first place. In conclusion, the NCAA should pay student athletes salary. My team and I have proven this in 4 different areas. Number 1, there is a significant disadvantage to student athletes being compensated. Number 2, coaches and staff make an exorbitant amount of money. Number 3, student athletes should be compensated for endorsement deals. And finally, number 4, student athletes work full-time like traditional employees but are not compensated. In any other industry that made this much money, we would expect their athletes to be paid. I ask you, why is this any different? Thank you.
Wow, you guys, that was amazing. Does it feel good to be done? You still look a little miserable. I'm really impressed, really impressed. You guys did, overall, I mean, compliments for the whole group, just really well prepared. And great volume and clear speaking, for sure. That was awesome. Okay, so specific feedback. This is the part that's making my mind crazy, because I was trying to follow. I'm not a very good judge, it turns out, because I was trying to follow the overall argument, but then also you guys individually. So it was tricky. Danny, you did a great job starting off, like getting everybody sort of going and really straightforward and confident. I thought you did a really good job bringing in research. That was awesome. It really made you seem, like you knew what you were talking about right from the beginning. I also thought one of the things you did an amazing job. Oh, okay, everyone's time is up. The amazing thing you did was with your emphasis on certain words. It was really powerful. Yeah. I think the biggest feedback in terms of something to work on is your attention when it's not you talking. So watching and then not talking when the other team's talking, or doing it whispery. That was a super job. Okay, so then we went to Owen, right? First time, Owen. Owen, I thought when you were refuting, you did a really good job of being respectful, but also sort of like, oh please. Like that was awesome. The way that you were able to say, like you said, and it was just the right amount of like, okay, but whatever. But it was in a respectful way. So that was really well done. I lost a little bit when you were in your 1A role or your first position. I lost a little bit of the middle toward the end of the first argument, and then you did a good job of transitioning in my second point. But I wasn't sure where you were going. But that could have just been me. Yeah. Okay, so then we went over to Mr. Grady. Grady, you did a great job of having really good, solid reasoning. Like I think when you talked about unfair labor, that really like woke me up. So that was amazing. You got to sound more confident though, because you're saying really powerful things, but you need to use emphasis to make it seem like scarier or more, something like that. But it was very solid. I really liked how sort of matter of fact you were too. Okay, then we went to Kent. Kent, your eye contact was amazing. I loved it when Owen was talking. You were like looking up at him like you had never heard such amazing words coming from your partner, which was really cool because it really did. Whereas when other people, like when somebody on their team was talking, sometimes people were sitting there like, yeah, I've heard this already, right? And which you have, but you got to act like you're as impressed as right? And so that's something I think for everyone. And Kent, you were doing. It was a little borderline creepy, but it was good. And then there were, Kent, you did a great job. Let's see, with the looking, yeah, just with your arguments. There were a couple of words that I think you mispronounced, which threw me off because you were so powerful otherwise. Yeah, and then Sophie. Oh my gosh, Sophie, that was like drop the mic a moment at the end there. You did that was really good. Great use of, I don't know what the terms are. I know you guys have learned them, but the end sort of like making it like so obvious. Like, why would you think of anything otherwise? You did a really good job with your pacing, using silence to get power. I don't know how to say that the right way, but like a lot of times when there's silence, we want to just sort of rush to fill it, and you were just doing a good job of letting those couple seconds go for it to sort of sink in, which is really hard to do. But you did a really good job with that. But again, I think sort of like that attention when you're not speaking, even if you're taking notes and things, which you were, but just sort of kind of knowing when to do that and not. Yeah, you guys, that was amazing. That was really fun. I'm impressed. Let's give them another.
I'm the
More observant then?
Yes.
Okay. I don't think that should be a problem.
7:45. 7:48 is okay.
Okay. It was stopped in between.
Okay, yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's just thinking. Oh wait. Good. Well, I'm gonna give a couple minutes. Yeah.
All right.
Okay, welcome. This is the first time that I've ever judged a debate, so it's a learning curve for me as far as the technicalities and things. But it's been fun to listen. I'm Miss Kyprios, and so I get to have these fine young people as students or former students. And the debate team meets in this classroom, so I get to hear them preparing on Thursday mornings, which is super fun. We get to do a little bit of debate in social studies in the classroom setting, but not in a formal way at all. But it's fun to know who the experts are that I will be able to call out when we do that kind of thing. I think I have a concept of the way it goes, the rounds and things, a little bit better this time around. Hello. Because we're on a time crunch, we'll get started here. No worries. Yeah. Oh, and so same as last round, hold applause until Landon goes, I guess, because you're at the end, right, Landon? Yeah. Okay. And it's the same proposition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Just a second, Ruth. Sorry. Okay, you can start whenever you're ready now.
Hi, my name is Ruth, and I, along with Dylan and Landon, am arguing the affirmative argument for the proposition that NCAA athletes should be paid a salary. NCAA athletes should be paid a salary because not all student athletes get a scholarship. According to scholarshipstats.com, Division I schools under NCAA rules can give 85 football scholarships and 13 basketball scholarships. Division II schools can only award 36 football scholarships and 10 basketball scholarships. Division III schools do not award athletic scholarships. Players that do not get those scholarships must pay for school. This shows that not all students get monetary benefits. Many people would argue that students do not need a salary. However, this is not necessarily true. According to scholarshipstats.com, 86% of college athletes received either no financial aid or only partial scholarships. Both pieces of evidence show that many students still must pay for school. While a few people do not receive scholarships, there is a much higher number that do not. Those that do not get full scholarships must pay for school, which can amount to large sums of money for students and their families. If families cannot afford tuition, they would have to quit the school altogether. If the students received a salary, they could continue with their schooling regardless of whether they receive a scholarship. The NCAA athletes work long, hard hours, and the least they deserve is a little spending money. NCAA athletes also should be paid a salary because even scholarships do not pay for all of college athletes' needs. According to CBS News, in Division I, only 6 sports receive full ride scholarships. This shows that many athletes receive little to no financial support. College athletes that do not receive scholarships have to pay their own tuition, leaving them with hardly any spending money. Lots of college students who are not athletes get jobs to help pay for their expenses. This is seldom an option for athletes. According to The Guardian, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar wrote, "I was generally too poor to do anything but study, practice, and play. The little spending money I managed to scrape together was earned on summer jobs. What made it even worse was that while students with academic scholarships could work jobs during the school year, we were forbidden to. This shows that he had little spending money for food and other items. If he earned a salary, he would not have to worry about buying necessities. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar got a scholarship, but was still only barely scraping by. How would a student athlete who did not receive a scholarship survive? Therefore, I have shown that NCAA athletes should be paid a salary because scholarships do not give student athletes enough money, and most athletes do not get scholarships at all. The student athletes are the ones who are playing the game that makes the school money, so they should receive a salary."
Sorry. Let's actually go off.
The average price for a private school college tuition is $50,900. When college athletes get a scholarship, they get that for free. How much more do they need? Hi, my name is Tate, and along with my teammate Dory, we will be arguing against the proposition that NCAA athletes should be paid. First, let's talk about how it is a privilege to be on a college sports team. When you're on a college sports team, you get professional coaching, high-quality facilities, uniforms, medical cost coverage, academic enhancement, the list goes on. People spend thousands of dollars paying for professional coaching, but if you're on a college sports team, you get it for free. These coaches are also some of the best in the country. Did you know that 100 new state-of-the-art facilities were opened in Division I schools between 1997 and 2015? When you're on the sports team, you get to use these incredible facilities for free. Also, according to a 2012 Santa Clara University study, most schools cover medical cost coverage of injured players while they're still enrolled in school and officially on a team. To add on to this, some players even get scholarships and don't have to pay for tuition. Why do you need more money when you already have so many benefits? Also, you can't distribute this money evenly. According to Dr. James Schaap, an economist at the University of Nevada, only basketball and football were profitable in Division I and Division II colleges. Sports other than football and basketball were overwhelmingly financially unsuccessful. So should basketball and football athletes get the most money? They are the people making the money. But then is it fair to athletes like golfers, gymnasts, and wrestlers who put in the same amount of work? No matter how you propose to pay these students, it's extremely complex and likely unfair in some way or another. If we don't pay athletes, we will completely avoid this issue. Now you know that being on a college sports team is a privilege and that the NCAA can't distribute the money evenly. Now you understand there's no good reason to pay college athletes. Thank you.
Do you work for many hours just to get no salary? If you work for the government, you might understand this crisis. Hi, my name is Dylan Kelly, and I am arguing for the proposition that NCAA athletes should be paid a salary because they work many hours for no salary. Some colleges get $11 billion a year. Some get $70 million, and some get $100 million a year. Where does it go? According to a 2014 study by Northwestern University College, Basketball and football athletes devote upwards of 43 hours per week to team travel, play, and practice. If students are spending all this time working on their athletic body and working for the team, why aren't they getting a salary? Also, when are they supposed to fit in their academic career with all the time working on sports? If they're getting behind in school, they can't do their sport. So many things to juggle with no pay. Also, students should be paid like the coaches are. According to a 2017 study by Texas Christian University, in 40 states, the highest paid state employees are college, basketball, and football coaches. 1 year's salary for Jim Harbaugh could fund scholarships for all 85 players of the football team at the University of Michigan for 8 years. The head coach of the University of Oklahoma, Bob Stoops, makes the equivalent of the school's annual tuition for one student every 2 days. So if the coaches get that much money for coaching a sport, why shouldn't the people who are getting injured, working, putting in sweat, and the ones who are actually playing the game not getting a salary? Wouldn't you expect to get paid? In conclusion, a lot of the money schools make on sports goes to coaches. NCAA athletes should get paid, and the coaches are paid so much more. So it's not fair that they work for so many hours for no salary. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Dory, and I will be presenting the negative argument that college athletes should not be paid. My first argument is there is just not enough money to pay college athletes. According to scholarshipstats.com, Division I schools under the NCAA rules can give 85 football scholarships and 13 basketball scholarships. Division II can only award 36 football scholarships and 10 basketball scholarships. Division III do not award athletic scholarships. Players that don't get those scholarships may pay for school on their own. This shows that schools give a very small percentage of college athlete scholarships. If schools had to pay all the college athletes, it would become very expensive and they would not be able to afford all of it. SBS News reports that exactly 2% of the high school athletes earn scholarships for colleges. If the NCAA can't afford to give out more scholarships, they won't even have close to enough money to pay all the college athletes. Another reason that college athletes should not be paid is that it would hurt other students if athletes were paid. According to Villanova Law School, a 2012 study by Michael Corrigan of Villanova University concluded that by paying college athletes as little as $25,000 per year, in addition to the scholarships they get, many schools would be forced to cut most other sport programs. This shows that if scholarships pay the athletes, then schools will end up being forced to cut other programs, such as women's soccer, gymnastics, or golf, because they will not have enough money to afford all of it. Also, college athletes would only get paid around $25,000 per year, and that's not nearly enough for athletes to cover all the living expenses plus their college tuition. So colleges shouldn't even bother cutting off other sports if they can't even pay basketball and football athletes enough money. Therefore, college athletes should not be paid because there's not enough money and it would hurt other students. Thank you.
Do we have a prep time?
Yeah. You've used 1.5 minutes of your prep time?
I think we're actually ready right now. So.
Do both of you guys get to ask?
What?
Yeah.
We both have 4 months.
Yeah.
Each team has 4 months of prep time.
So after yours, if you said you were done, then you could theoretically ask for more?
Yeah.
Okay, that's, okay.
Okay.
Okay, but you're saying you're done with you're done
Yes, we're
using
done
your
with
prep
the
time
prep
for right now?
Okay, guys.
Are you guys done, or would you like to use some of your?
We're done.
Can we use ours later?
No.
Yeah, we're using ours later.
Yes.
So we use ours later, like before my argument.
Okay.
Okay. I'd like to take this opportunity to challenge some of the things my opponents have suggested today. They said that they may not get that student athletes may not get a scholarship. But I disagree, because like I suggested before in my earlier argument, even if they don't have a scholarship, there's so many benefits to just being on a sports team. They also said that student athletes that don't get a scholarship have to pay for school, but that is the exact same as all the other students that are going to the college. They all have to pay for school, so it's not that much of a disadvantage. They also said that some colleges get $11 billion a year, but that is not fact. That is how much money total NCAA gets a year, not a college. No college gets $11 billion per year. They also said that that the student athletes have no time to do homework, but the NCAA actually pays $46.7 million on college athletes' tutors, so that they can give them help on their homework, so that they can stay caught up and have good grades in college. We have demonstrated that playing college is a privilege that comes with significant benefits, and that paying athletes becomes extremely complicated. We've also made clear that there's not enough money to pay student athletes, and even if you did, that would be alienating all their students. Therefore, Dory and I have proven that it is unreasonable to pay student athletes. Thank you.
Okay. We want.
Okay.
Can you please start the prep time?
Sorry?
We're ready.
We're ready.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Hi, my name is Landon Eintracht, and I would like to take a few minutes to challenge what the other team has said. They said that there is not enough money to pay for student athletes, but I disagree, because the NCAA reports that college sports injuries is an $11 billion industry. Over 50 U.S. colleges generate upward of $70 million per year in athletic revenues. 28 colleges generate annual athletic revenues of $100 million per year, which is plenty enough to pay for college. It's more than enough. 86% of student athletes do not receive student scholarships, so this student salaries would be deeply needed. They also said that it is a benefit to be on a team, so they don't need a salary. But I respectfully disagree, because some people cannot afford college, and therefore they cannot enjoy benefits of college in the athletic department if they cannot afford college. Most athletes do not get scholarships, therefore the students cannot enjoy the benefits of it. Okay. In conclusion, the evidence we have seen today clearly suggests how vital it is to pay college athletes a salary, and how the law against them should be revoked. This is true because NCAA athletes work many hours. Students should be paid equal to coaches, and not all students get scholarships.
Wow. You guys are impressive. Oh my goodness. This is so hard. Okay. Does it feel good to be done? Does it feel good to be done? Really? No?
No, I wish I would have done better. But.
Oh my goodness. It's okay. Well, I'm super impressed. You guys did a really good job, and super fun to listen to. I think this time I'm going to give some general feedback or things to work on to the whole group, and then, whoa, good, we're on time. And then the specific compliments to each one of you. That's how I'm gonna do it this time, I think. So Ruth, you started us off, and you were a good starting point because you got the argument, I think, clearly laid out. I loved how you said at one point, you said many people would argue, however, which was a really good. I like that you acknowledged sort of what's out there, but then said why what you were thinking was correct. So that was a really, really good line, and it sounded very natural the way you said it. So that was great. And then we went over to Tate. Tate, you did a great job emphasizing certain words. And then I loved when you were in the role of the third person refuting. I thought you struck a really good balance between being respectful, but also sort of like, yeah, but you're wrong. But in a really respectful way. Which I think is really hard, where you like pull out somebody else's evidence and say, but with just enough of an edge, but it didn't sound disrespectful or condescending. And that was, I think, hard. I also liked how your team brought in the tutoring statistic. That caught my attention, which was cool. Okay, then we went over to Miss Dillon. Dylan, I liked how you brought in all the coaches' salary stuff. That was really kind of shocking, in a good way. And that made it, sort of made me think about things in a different way than it had come up before. And I also liked how you were just so matter of fact about presenting your information.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then Dory, I liked how you had done some of the sort of number crunching in your statistics. So that was cool how you had sort of did some of the thinking for me in terms of the way you presented it, which was really good as far as like salaries and numbers. I didn't write it all down. I also felt like you did a really good job of working as a team with Tate, and that was impressive. And then Landon, you were a good closer. You did a great job using certain words to emphasize. I think at one point you were like plenty or enough. Like you basically saying the same thing a couple different times, but it sounded unique each time because of the way you emphasized certain words in a really powerful way. So very impressive. I would say for the whole group, I think maybe we need a little bit more giving context for why the piece of evidence that who it is that you're specifically quoting. So you did a good job of not giving information it's not random information. It's not your opinion. It's, according to. But tell me why the according to matters. There was a couple of times where there were statistics between Division 1, Division 2, and Division 3, but I didn't know why that mattered. Why separating it out by division was informative in any way. And coming from like a sort of non-sporting context, right? Like I was like, why does that matter? It wasn't clear to me why that mattered. So I think for the whole group, tell us if you're quoting a newspaper, why? If you're quoting a coach, or there was one time when somebody's name was mentioned and I didn't know if it was an athlete, is it a coach, is it an athlete, is it a commentator? So tell us why we care that person said that or didn't say that or whatever. And then you guys have to work on, I think, not being distracting when you're passing notes and getting excited about what somebody else says that you want to refute. It's hard. It's super hard. But you don't want to take away from, and also when your own person is speaking, act like what they're saying is something you've never heard before. Right? You sometimes, it's subtle, but you're sort of conveying yeah, sort of boredom because you've heard each other speak so many times, or you've heard this argument so many times, but for all of us it's new. And so when I'm trying to listen to one of you, but your teammate isn't paying any attention, it makes it sort of subtle message of I shouldn't be paying attention or something. I don't know. That's really tricky, I think. Super impressive. The way that you went through your arguments and you said how it connected to what you were trying to say was so impressive. Miss Shine would be very impressed as well. And Miss Boswell. in your reasoning. So I'd say let's give you guys another round of applause. And I don't know if this helps or not, but I don't feel like there's like an obvious clear winner. But I guess I have to pick somebody, some side. Okay, so I think we go up to the cafeteria.
Yeah.
Okay.
My first argument is that the NCAA earns more than enough money to pay all college athletes. According to National College Athletic Association, the NCAA reports that college sports industry is an $11 billion a year industry. Over 50 U.S. colleges generate up to $70 million per year in annual athletic revenues that exceed up to $100 million per year. This shows that colleges make millions of dollars. However, none of it goes to the athletes. All the money that colleges make is coming off of athletes' work, because they make a lot of money from athletes in the newspaper and in commercials, not to mention all the money they make it from games. While most believe that scholarships are funded with that money, according to the National Student Clearinghouse Research Center, a very small percentage of college athletes actually get scholarships. In addition, if athletes are injured, they're kicked off the team and they lose their scholarship, resulting in them having to pay for their college education on their own. The NCAA should pay athletes at least some of the money they're earning for the school. Another reason the NCAA should pay athletes is that more students would get degrees if they were paid. According to a report by the NFL, 100 out of 256 players drafted in 2016 were college students who left college as underclassmen before getting a degree, and 40% did not get selected to play in the NFL. This shows that college athletes are leaving college early so they can be drafted in the NFL, presumably to start earning money. But athletes are leaving college before they get a degree. If they don't get drafted by the NFL, then they're left with no college degree or any money. Furthermore, a recent study from Georgetown University found that on average, college graduates earn $1 million more in earnings over their lifetime. So college graduates earn $1 million more than students who don't finish college. Therefore, college athletes should be paid because the NCAA earns more than enough money to pay athletes, and more college students would get degrees if they were paid. Thank you.
My name is Dylan Waldman, and I'm presenting the negative argument against the resolution that NCAA athletes should be paid. My first argument is that many NCAA players won't get paid on the open market, so why should the NCAA manufacture money they don't have? The number of athletes that make the pros is so small. In fact, 95% of intercollegiate athletes do not become professional athletes, according to a 2017 study done by Texas Christian University. After the NCAA, the players won't get paid, especially the D3 non-profitable sports players that they don't have the assets to pay the athletes. After the athletes play in the NCAA, it is unlikely that anyone will pay them to play their sport. Why should the NCAA pay players for 4 or less years? My second argument is it would be unfair compensation between the players. Have you ever wondered how the different colleges will pay the different levels of athletes? Well, according to Malcolm Lemons with the Huffington Post, there may be unfair compensation between players. For example, the players that are on the bench, would they get paid as much as the All-Americans? The cost, for example, of Kyler Murray, Oklahoma's quarterback, the Heisman Trophy winner, would it be the same as a backup sprinter for the Northern Utah track and field team? All I'm saying is that the level of money might change depending on the skill level, and is that really fair? If you started paying some athletes, you'd have to pay them all. If you didn't pay a few sports, you might get sued by players who played those sports. That would end with the college losing money. Now that you have listened to my speech, consider the points I've made in the stance that college athletes must be paid. My points are, most NCAA players won't get paid on the open market, so why should the NCAA make money they don't have? Secondly, it would be unfair compensation between the players. Once again, NCAA athletes should not be paid. Thank you.
And go whenever you're ready.
$11 billion. That's how big, by the NCAA's own account, the college sports industry is. Hi, my name is Tate, and I will be arguing in favor of the proposition
that the NCAA should pay college athletes. With massive growth of college sports over the last 50 years, the time has come to pay the people responsible for generating that growth. Did you know that originally college coaches were volunteers? Did you know that over the past 20 years, the amount of money college football coaches make, for example, has increased in some cases up to 600%? The NCAA has seen this growth too. In 2017, the NCAA exceeded $1 billion in revenue. The growth by any business standard is incredible. The reason this is all happening is due to the work and dedications of thousands of students who make their college sports teams successful. Still, these athletes don't see a single dollar despite this avalanche of growth. How much more money will these coaches and associations and schools have to earn before they finally agree that paying student athletes is the right thing to do? Another irrefutable reason to pay student athletes is they simply deserve it. Student athletes are the people working hard out on the court, in the pool, in the gym, at the weight room, or on the field. Coaches might have a big effect on the team, but it is up to the athletes to get it done. Did you know that coaches receive bonuses for breaking records, reaching the offseason, and winning the big games? The athletes receive none of it. Does this seem fair? The answer is no. Certainly coaches have a big impact on the team, but it's the players who get the job done. It takes hard work and dedication to be a sports player. I'm a 12-year-old student athlete, and even I know this to be true. So imagine how these college players must feel. According to a 2014 study by Northwestern University College, basketball and football athletes devote an upwards of 43 hours per week to their sport. In fact, according to Root Sports, major sports leagues like the NFL use the NCAA as a minor league system so they don't have to pay these athletes millions of dollars a year. Athletes should be paid at least a minimum wage for what they do. In conclusion, when we consider the tremendous growth in sheer dollars generated by college sports, along with the work put in by these players, it's clear that student athletes must be paid. Thank you.
That collegiate athletes should be paid a salary. It is a goal for the majority of people to live and thrive in a happy and healthy environment. Equality, passion, and preparation are all things that factor into obtaining this environment, and they can be achieved at a college by having a fair playing field across athletes and careers. My first claim is that distributing payments across different sports and divisions is difficult. According to Michael Corgan of Villanova University, paying collegiate athletes the subnormal amount of $25,000 would result in the necessity for colleges to cut smaller or less popular sports programs. This is crucially important because no matter the level of the athlete or the fame of the sport, the participants are passionate about their activities. For example, cutting beach volleyball in order to pay the basketball players would be unfair and possibly devastating to the volleyball players. Who's to say that the volleyball players put in less work and dedication than the basketball players? Cutting sports in order to give salaries to more popular sports is completely unfair. Equality is a major value to many, so paying athletes salaries but other sports getting cut is unacceptable. My second claim is that college athletes are students, not employees. Shown by the National Center for Education Statistics, 81% of students who are obtaining a 4-year degree graduated, while 61.1% of students obtaining a 6-year bachelor's degree graduated. This matters immensely to college athletes because college is for learning and preparing to have successful careers. Since there is such a small amount of college athletes who go pro, 5%, they are most likely to need a backup career, something they're motivated to pursue. As statistics show, many students graduate college with a career that they're going to take on that isn't always sports. Once money is in the picture and athletes are getting paid, they are completely focused on their sport and being the best at it in order to make a salary. If money's in the equation, it's going to be a bigger focus than majors and a possible career in something other than sports. In conclusion, we can see that paying athletes salaries can not only harm the athletes by getting in the way of other possible careers, but it can also harm other athletes. And if they're from less popular sports, then they might not even get a chance. Obviously, we can see that there are so many negative effects that would come from paying athletes. Both the athletes and students can benefit from college athletes not being paid. Therefore, college athletes should not be paid salaries. Thank you.
Can we have some time, please?
This is our extra time. Opponents' team's points, and we are arguing against the proposition that college athletes should be paid a salary. Money is a very complicated idea. It can create dreams and glory, but it can also create jealousy and inequality. Paying college athletes can harm those in the college, which is most definitely not the goal of school. Learning is the goal of college. Salaries create distractions and problems when it comes to preparing for the future. Now I would like to take some time to refute the opposing team's arguments. They said that the National Collegiate Athletic Association can afford to pay the athletes and still have extra money. But that is incorrect because there are so many athletes that need to be paid from so many schools that even if you could pay some of the really good players from some teams, many of the other players and other teams would not be able to be funded. They also said that athletes should be paid minimum wage because they deserve to be paid money, but they are students, not adults, and they don't need the extra responsibility of being paid. How much they're getting paid, how they're getting paid, it's just too much of a burden to carry. They also said that the athletes are doing all the work but not being paid. I disagree because, sure, they play, but they don't do the logistics. They don't do all the nitty-gritty work that goes into actually building a team. And finally, they said that athletes devote 43 hours per week. I disagree because they didn't even mention schoolwork. Sure, the athletes are getting by doing enough schoolwork now, but once money's in the picture, they are going to be so much more focused on their sport that many athletes could fall behind and potentially fail at school, which could harm their future careers. Now I would like to restate my and my teammates' points. As my teammate Dylan stated earlier, college athletes should not get paid for the reason that most college athletes do not make it professionally, so it would be a waste of money to pay them. Also, paying athletes would result in inequality between players. As I established in my last argument, college athletes should not get paid because it would be very difficult and maybe even not possible to distribute money across various sports, and it would be very difficult to continue funding less popular activities. As well, college is not for gaining money and for being treated as an adult or an employee. It is for learning and growing, but once money's in the picture, the athlete's attention is driven away from learning and towards getting a salary and making money, which is very problematic and harmful to these athletes. In conclusion, paying college athletes can be very, very hurtful and damaging to the colleges as well as to the athletes. We don't want students to feel inferior or less than others. Paying athletes can only cause more problems in the students' lives, which is extremely damaging to their futures. From our argument, you can now see that college athletes should not be paid a salary. Thank you.
I'd like to take this opportunity to challenge some of the things my opponents have suggested today. They said that college athletes won't get paid to play their sport, but I disagree because they still have a college degree. They also said that college players are not employees, but college players are required to show up for all events, even if it conflicts with their class. Finally, they said that with all the money they're getting, they will be distracted, but I disagree. The NCAA spends $46.7 million on Academic Enhancement Fund. With that is meant to help students with their schoolwork. In conclusion, my teammate and I have demonstrated that college athletes should be paid, and we have proved that the NCAA earns more than enough money to pay college athletes. More athletes would get degrees if they are paid. Also, the time has come, and finally, athletes deserve to be paid. Therefore, the answer is clear. College athletes must be paid. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Cam Ordall, and I, along with my teammate Owen, am presenting the first affirmative argument in favor of the resolution that college athletes should be paid salary. My first argument is that the coaches in the universities are making too much money on the backs of the athletes. Hundreds of millions of dollars are getting generated from the games, and none is going to the players. According to CNN, revenues from broadcasting rights and ticket sales were estimated to to be around $3 billion in 2014. However, none of this money finds its way to the players themselves. Michigan players are all wearing Adidas shoes, not because they prefer them, but because the University of Michigan is in the middle of a multi-year deal with Adidas. It is worth a reported $80 million to the school. But the people who are wearing the shoes get none of it, except for perhaps some tuition. My second argument is that the college athletes are frequently unable to support themselves. For example, just hours before competing for a national title, UConn Xavier Napier said, although some student athletes get scholarships like he did, quote, but at the end of the day, that doesn't cover everything. We do have hungry nights that we don't have enough money to get food in, unquote. This shows that some of the college athletes do not have enough money to get themselves food, and some of the universities and coaches are bathing in money. Student athletes not having enough money for food is unfair because they're the ones working hard in the games. If they are frequently unable to support themselves, that is morally unjust as they are the ones working. My third argument is that players are taking a big risk and need to be compensated for it. According to a 2012 Santa Clara University study, most schools cover medical costs of injured players while they're enrolled in school and still officially on the team. However, once a player graduates or stops playing due to serious injury, the university no longer pays for medical costs. If you get a serious injury while playing football or basketball for college, not only could they not be able to play the sport, but they may not be able to get a good job because of their injury. This is unfair. Players who put so much time and effort for the glory of their institutions generally only get tuition covered, but not all other expenses are covered. If they get injured, there's no compensation. The least they could do is give them a salary so that they are reimbursed for the risks they are taking. Therefore, college athletes should be paid a salary. Thank you.
Have you ever watched a college football or basketball game and wondered if they get paid? Hi, my name is Isabella Delanda, and I suggested a solution along with my teammates said that the NCAA athletes should not be paid. It's not fair to the other athletes who play different college sports. According to the sports law journal, Villanova Law School, a study concluded that by paying athletes as little as $25,000 per year, in addition to scholarships they get, many schools would be forced to cut most other sports programs. This means that other students would not have the option to get scholarships if their sport is cut, much less get paid. Also, student athletes should not be paid because according to a 2016 research article from the International Journal of Economics, only basketball and football were profitable for Division I and II colleges. How would you determine who is paid in a fair way? This means that college athletes should be paid because all of that money used to pay the athletes could be used to make other sports successful. If we give college students money, they will have little reason to go to class and be a dedicated student. According to an NPR podcast titled, Why Shouldn't We Pay College Athletes?, they interviewed Mikhail Yanka, a law professor at Cardozo Law School in New York City. He argued that his payment would further separate them from the student body and make them more like college employees. According to a 2013 Forbes magazine article, though players do not receive salaries, they do receive scholarships, meals, housing, team-issued gear, access to gyms, trainers, private tutors, and special activities, which can total up to $125,000 per athlete. The most important thing is to get an education and being a student, not just an athlete working for the university. In conclusion, college athletes should not be paid and get scholarship money, because if we were to give college students money, they will have little reason to go to class and be a dedicated student. This might also take money away from other college sports. Thank you.
Almost, and I am presenting the second affirmative argument in favor that college athletes should be paid a salary. My first argument is that college athletes are valuable. According to Business Insider, overall, the Division I player is worth $170 $170,098 per year to 351 Division I programs, taking in more than $4.5 million in revenue on average each year. College student athletes are bringing in a lot of money without getting any of the profit. The player is essentially donating their talent and revenue due to their athletic success to the college after already paying the college for their education unless they're getting a scholarship. According to Next College Student Athlete, it's important to understand that most athletic scholarships are not full rides. In addition to substantial financial value, according to Sports Illustrated, student athletes are not only part of the sports team, but also contribute to the university's marketing, another area where they offer excellent value. For example, the Flutie effect. The Flutie effect happened when Doug Flutie, a quarterback for Boston College, won the Heisman Trophy, resulting in a significant increase in admissions. It is used to describe the athlete's success can have on an overall college admission, which directly impacts the finances at the university. Secondly, college athletics is a full-time job. According to a personal story from a writer at Huffington Post, quote, the teachers let us do our work, this work referring to the side jobs they have that actually brings them money. The teachers let us do our work from the road, but the job wasn't going to pay you just because you were playing basketball on a road trip. The team gave us meal stipends, about $7 a meal, so we could get chips and condiments with our sandwiches, but anything else was considered NCAA violation. This shows that athletes are not getting supported financially by the college 100%. Even if they can work on the road, there are obstacles. Players might not have a job that allows them to work remotely, such as a hostess. More importantly, they're traveling to play sports and not to do their other job. Frankly, they will not have the time. Due to the rigorous schedule, what can be in upwards of 43 hours a week, which is 3 hours more than a full-time job as an adult, of 43 hours per week of training, traveling, play, etc., says the NCAA. Students will not be able to work, resulting in the inability to make any money for food and living expenses. Because it's a full-time job, college athletes should be paid a salary. These are reasons why college athletes should be paid. Thank you.
Athletes would be a mistake because it would result in fewer athletes able to get a college education. There is no more money, said Stephen Patterson, University of Texas athletic director. A 2013 study by USA Today found that only 23 of 324 Division I athletic departments either made money or broke even. And the NCAA reports that all Division II and III athletic departments lost money. Mark Emmert, the NCAA president, has said if schools were forced to pay athletes, many schools would cut other sports programs because profit-making sports support other sports programs. That is supported by a 2012 Villanova University study that found that by paying college athletes as little as $25,000 per year, many schools would be forced to cut other sports programs. Paying student athletes would cause schools that do not make any profits from sports to drop other non-profit sports. The result would be fewer athletes who would get scholarships to play sports. It is logical to infer they would not have the opportunity to get an education because they would not have the money to afford it. My second argument is if college athletes paid athletes, academic programs would likely be eliminated or tuition will be raised, and that would harm all students. Paying student athletes would force schools to eliminate sports programs and scholarships. Even worse than that, it would also force schools to eliminate academic programs or increase tuition, and that would harm everyone. In 2017, the NCAA contributed $46 million to schools for their academic programs. A recent USA Today report also found that smaller schools used their money from their profit-making sports like men's basketball and football to balance their budgets. If these schools paid their athletes money that they do not have, that money would have to come from eliminating other expenses. They may have to eliminate programs like computer science and engineering, which according to a recent Seattle Times article are the most popular but costly but most popular programs because of job opportunities. If schools raise tuition, low-income students could not afford to go to college at all, or students would have to go into deeper debt to get a college education. I have proven that paying college athletes would be a mistake because it would mean fewer athletes who get a college education. Schools and students should not have to suffer because student athletes are paid. Thank you. Now I would like to take a moment to refute what the other team said. They said that athletes can't afford food. That means that they have to get a job. Also, colleges provide meals, gear, and housing. So this means that they can get food. Also, they said that college athletes devote 43 hours a week on their sport. But that is only 2 sports, men's football and men's basketball, the only sports that bring in money. Therefore, we have proven college athletes should not be paid. Thank you.
Hello. I will be countering a few of the points the other team has made, and I will be summarizing my team's arguments. They said that they will only be able to give $25,000 with a scholarship, but if they did not get a scholarship, they would get more money. They also said that the college pays for lodge. They also said They also said that the college paid for lodging, food, etc. They said that it was included with the scholarship, but most of the college athletes actually have to pay for it themselves. They also said that it would lower the ability to go to school because of the money. But many kids have to pay because not everyone gets a scholarship. To summarize our previous arguments, college athletes should be paid because the coaches in the universities are making too much money. The NCAA is very successful financially. The players need to be compensated for the risks they're taking. They are frequently unable to support themselves, are valuable, and participate in a full-time job. Therefore, college athletes should be paid a salary. Thank you.